So I'm Heather, and I have met some of you, but not all of you. And obviously I wrote nonfiction. Yes. But I was planning to do some share story stuff, some inspirational stuff, and then put you to work, looking at books. But I don't know what you're here for, and I had to make this session up before I knew you. So if you don't mind, just give me your what is it you're interested? Like, why did you show up to this session? What are you interested in, or something, so I have a little bit to go with, so I can adjust to your needs. Yeah, go for it.
I guess I'm decided to write another second book to follow up my first one. It's the first book I wrote was called All Your Best Selves, and it's basically taking acting techniques and trying to teach non-actors how to use their mind and emotions better. But when I wrote this book, I didn't realize what I actually had was a systemic way to teach mental and emotional literacy.
Whoa.
Yeah, that's what I learned, because we're at the point where we're teaching actors how to use real emotions and imaginary circumstances, how we're teaching actors how to build a real working mindset for the stage. And I'm making the argument, why are we working so much harder to build imaginary people than real people? So I want to take these tools and techniques and give them to just all people, so you can learn how, because it's the genderization of emotions, where it's okay for a man to rage, but if a woman rages, it's ugly. Or it's okay for a woman to be soft, but if a man's soft, he touches the softer side of Sears, now he's weak, which emotions shouldn't have gender.
Okay.
So now I'm trying to write, the second book is going to be the Me Literacy Project, and the Me is capital M, capital E for mental and emotional. And I'm trying to go down that road too, because like I said, the first book, I didn't realize it was mental and emotional
So
literacy.
you're kind of revisioning it for yourself. I mean, it sounds like similar topic, but from a different approach, different angle. Okay, good. Okay. Well, come on in.
I'm interested in writing nonfiction, and I have nowhere to start. I don't know where to start, so here I am.
Would you mind sitting with us? We have small groups. That'd be great. Thanks. Yeah, and I'm just getting everybody to tell me a little bit about what they're looking for. And if you don't know, that's perfectly fine.
You know, as I said, I was attracted by your title.
Yeah.
I got my MFA in the previous century, and I started in poetry, ended up in fiction, and then after that I wrote nonfiction. So when I retired, it's just sort of like, well, I'm open to whatever's out there. And
Okay, cool. Thank you.
Okay, attracted by the title for one, and then also I'm pretty sure I read one of your books that I checked out from the Monrovia Library.
Right, me and the Monrovia piece.
Yeah, to the kids to take care of, and it was
ridiculous.
No.
Over the top. There's
hey, no, I thought it was. Well, my honest opinion, I thought it was gonna be like very boring and dull, and it was not, and it actually taught me a lot. I was impressed. I was very impressed. So, yeah, anyway,
Yeah, that's what happens. Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Just why you came today, 'cause I like to adjust my session to my students.
Oh, okay. So I'm Ramona Hyman, and I'm writing a book that is the outgrowth of my dissertation on the Montgomery bus boycott. Yeah, and so I really wanted to be friendly, people friendly. Yeah.
Do you know who your audience is?
My audience is adults and people interested in that particular historical moment.
Cool.
Yeah.
so I'm not a writer. I don't write books or anything like that. I write.
Wait, do you write?
Oh yeah.
Okay, you're a writer.
Okay.
You might not be an author.
Yeah, there you go. My primary function for writing is lyrics. I'm a singer-songwriter, so I write lyrics. And so I've been trying to study a lot of poetry things that, essentially lyrics are, but and I love the title as well. And I am a grandma, and I do a lot of I'm going to be teaching a class with kids 8 to 14 in a couple weeks on the ukulele. So I've done some things with kids.
Yeah.
I did a program. It was called My Feelings Are a Work of Art, and it was in coalition with the Children's Mental Health thing, and it was It was so cool, the things we did and the things that came out of it were so profound with these first graders. So I guess that there was a whole culmination of things, and I just loved what you said today at lunchtime. That was amazing. I thought, I really, really appreciated everything you had to say, so.
Well, I learned a lot.
Yeah.
I'm gonna show you some weird stuff that I do to help me learn,
Cool.
and some of it's gonna feel like it's not at all like what you need, but you never know down the road. You never know. Cause I did not come into this one to write books, and I didn't have any clue how to write books, and I definitely didn't want to write nonfiction, cause that was boring. I grew up reading fiction, and like nonfiction was only the history book in the school, and it was awful.
What's in your pocket?
What's in your
The
pocket?
one
Yeah, so the follow-on book that's coming, it's about young inventors.
All right.
all right.
But, I don't even have a publication date yet, because we just now figured out the Illustrator. But I could go and talk a lot about publishing, but what I wanna just like show you, like, I came a long ways. I started back here with the first book that was assigned to me to write, How to Survive an Earthquake. Did I know anything about earthquakes? Did I know anything about survival? Yeah, wilderness survival. I didn't know anything about earthquakes, but anyway, and these are all my books that were written on assignment, and they taught me a lot. And then these are my book babies. So there's a whole different world, and you'll see that in the books we're gonna look at today. You're gonna get a chance to kind of dive in and look at stuff. But if you want to publish traditionally, you have to understand the categories. That's a huge thing. If you're not interested in publishing traditionally, more power to you, because I cannot imagine doing both the work of the writer and the publisher and the illustrator. But some people can do it, and I don't have business sense, so I can't do it. But like, I still think you need to understand those categories, because that's how sales work. I mean, it's, it's awful, but that's what it is. It's like, unless you can get books sold, people can't read them. That's just, you gotta play the game, but you gotta play it your way. Okay, back here, that's my website QR if you want to go to it, but I'll have it later if you're interested. And feel free to take pictures and this is gonna be in the way. So, yeah, if you want to take pictures of any, like, things. So this is what informational books were, right? You know what they were? That's exactly right. They were, this guy is supposed to come. Oh, it's not working. It's not working. Oh, come on. Missed him already. Oh, there he is. Oh, and you know what Myra say? Don't do boring. That's my rule. Don't do boring. So I'm not sure why. Oh, now it's working. Okay. So yeah. So let's do boring. Okay. Let's talk, students. We're going to talk about the physiology of a tree today. Today, get your pencils out, and we're going to memorize some vocabulary words. Ready? Silence. No. What if? I mean, the tree piece, right? The piece of wood. What if? You ready? They're gross. You ready for gross? Because here it comes. Wait, are those tree ducks? You just laughed at them. Why did you laugh at them? Why did you laugh at them? What made you laugh?
Probably the way you're saying it.
Presentation.
So my voice,
Yeah.
right? Delivery. Just the tone, right? The voice to delivery. I had it hidden. It was a surprise. And then what did I call them? Guts. Guts. Why did you laugh at that?
Not what you expect guts to be.
It's not what you expect guts to. Bingo. We're gonna do even more that you don't expect. Okay. This piece of wood right here. I mean, do you really have questions about it? Are you really curious about it? I mean, I made it silly, but like, it's just a piece of wood. But if I take some water, this is real water. I'll drink it and put some water on it. And then I'm gonna take some dish soap. It's really Dawn dish soap. I put it in a small container. I'm gonna make a big, huge mess. And I'm gonna take one drop. This is just a boring science experiment. And I'm gonna do something with it. I'm gonna smush the drop of some liquid dish detergent all around. And then Wait, why did your jaws just drop? I saw 3 jaws right in a row drop.
Mouth on tree cut.
And you didn't expect the suds to come out of that,
You
yeah.
know why? Because your brain does not connect a piece of wood with something that bubble, right? You just experienced cognitive dissonance, the academic term for like, hey, what? Like you have information in your brain that's about this subject. All right, you have knowledge. But what I just did is put new knowledge, you just sensed new information that didn't match the previous route that your mind took to connect these two things, bubbles and trees. And so all of a sudden, your little synapses went ding, 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 because you just made a different connection. Now, do you have questions about this thing? Do you want to know about it? Like, do you want to know why it worked? Do you want to know how it works? Do you want to know if you could do it? I mean, kids at this point, kids are like that. But how does it do it? And does it have to do, you know?
I wanna do it now.
Right,
Yeah.
exactly, right? Because all of a sudden, this thing has become really intriguing.
Mhm.
Now, I just used some tools, and we talked about them. I used a silly voice, I hid it, I presented something and made it a little humorous, and then I showed you something that your mind just didn't quite believe. That is an awesome way to start a nonfiction book, right? Because you're got your reader hooked, and I mean, a human brain is designed to learn, but we beat it out of them, you know? And I experienced that myself. Like I said, I didn't read nonfiction. I still don't read nonfiction in general. But that if you can figure out how to hook your reader with cognitive dissonance, you've got some gold. Because all of a sudden, they innately want to know more. Rather than you using all the other tools. You want to use all the other tools too, but it's just the best image I have found to help me remember how crucial it is. Let's see if this works. Okay, this tree guts, yeah. So I'm gonna tell you a little secret. The book, What's in Your Pocket, which I don't know where it is now. This book, this one right here, I did not want to write that. I went kicking and screaming at that book. It was not assigned to me, but it was requested of me, of a publisher, an editor that I had already written a book for. And she said, Heather, you know what we really need? And wouldn't it be nice if you would write? And I sure would like a biography of scientists. And I'm like, history. I'm like, history boring. I'm sorry, I had a bad attitude about history.
Yeah.
And I just was like, really? But she kept asking me, and this is before there were a bunch of picture book biographies about scientists. And she said, Heather, like, you would be the perfect person to do this. You would make it so exciting. She said, even when it's boring. There it is, thank you. And I said, really? And so finally I gave up, and I went to the library in the adult biography section and pulled out a stack of books and sat on the floor and I started reading. But in every single one of those scientist biographies, there was one little scene where I'm like, huh, that's funny. Huh, that's like me. Huh, I can see a kid doing that. And every single of those scientists had one time in their book, one scene where they were a kid, kind of sort of getting in trouble for what they did. And my brain was like, well, that's how they were learning science. I'm like, that's exactly how that kid needed to do to figure out this, that, yeah. And so I said, I'm going to break the rules. I said, I don't have to write a biography of one scientist. So it, you know, it turned into George found a strange seed pod, put it in his pocket, all about it, until pop, it exploded all over the parlor floor. Well, they took out the word parlor, but all out. See, this is what happens when you tell a book from how you wrote it versus how you got it. But after that, George had to empty out his pockets on the porch. Nobody knew that George would grow up to be the famous scientist, George Washington Carver. And then the little secondary text says he helped farmers grow peanuts and other seeds in poor soil. He discovered that almost 300 new uses for the peanut, including soap, glue, fuel, and a new version of peanut butter. And then we turn the page and we say, Will found beautiful blue eggs in a tree, needing his hands to climb down. He held the eggs in his mouth. Guess what happens? Oops. Will crashed to the ground. He swallowed the eggs. Nobody knew that Will would become the famous naturalist William Bebe. And then you go on to learn what he did. And then Valerie Jane, who became Jane Goodall, who put worms underneath her pillow, and on and on. So what I decided to do was I was gonna break the rules because like a biography is like one fun scene and then a bunch of boring stuff. Let's like skip all the boring stuff. Let's have the fun scene and the final scene and let's be done with it. Like this is for kids. Kids do not tolerate boring. So, you know, you gotta sometimes just do it your way. But I recognized somewhere that I had a hook and I had a conclusion. And that's the only part I wanted to tell. So that's what I did. But I couldn't just have a bunch of scientists. I had to have it build to something. So in a nonfiction book, we'll talk about narrative and expository in a bit, but expository often gets blamed for being boring because it's information that's often presented in a logical way. Well, editors are language arts folks and they love story, but you don't always want to tell story. So this is an expository book. It's just information, but it tells a pseudo story in the fact that the kids in the book at the end are all kids when they make their discoveries. And we put in these refrains that helped the reader connect to a kid in the art. So the kid in the art is kind of experiencing their own growth. So there are ways to do expository, yet still weave in some storyline, something that takes the information a step higher. I think that is stairs. And how far up you go on your stairs is up to you. But if you think of a book and it's all just flat, it's boring. But if you take them up, if you elevate a reader somehow, it may be to the first platform, it may be to the third, you know, but you want to be going somewhere with it. And they need to feel that, you know, they need to feel that motion. So I'm going to share this book with you. It's called Nonfiction Writers Dig Deep. It's all about kids writers, but it doesn't matter because what this is essays from all these different writers, and they talk about how personal their nonfiction is. People think that nonfiction is not personal, even if it's really, even my very straight, dry, boring books, they're still personal because I made choices. And so what's interesting in here is the different choices that different authors made, and how that kind of shows their personality. So this is me as a kid. I was a collector kid. Go figure. I didn't know I was going to write this book, but I remember sitting on the floor with my collection of stamps and going, well, how do I put them in the book? Like it's a stamp collection, right? But do I organize them by color or by number or by, you know, how much they're worth or by country or by, and so I said, I don't have to do it one way. And I do it one way and leave it for a while and then I come back and I rearrange them. It was those little, you know, those pages in the scrapbook you could pull open. And then I did it so that till they weren't sticky anymore. But now I recognize what that did is that train my brain in being flexible information and the way that you can organize it. And that leads into what we're going to do in a little bit. So I still am doing a bunch of collecting and I take collections to kids in schools, etc. But it's pretty powerful stuff. So here's what I like to do. Something like shells, you can sort them, right? In this case, I think I sorted them by whitish and non-whitish, okay? But then it's done. Well, you mix them all together and you do it again. All right, so this time I'm not allowed to use any category that I thought of earlier. I got to think of a new category. So this time, it's this bivalve shape versus a spiral. Okay, and I also happen to order them by size, just because I'm anal that way. And then this time I had to do it a third time. You always make yourself do things at least a third time. It pushes your brain to a point because 2 times is easy. And the third time it was, oh, how smooth versus how pointy they are. And these ones kind of fit in the middle. Okay. So try it now with some nonfiction. I want you to take a stack of books and you can work together. You can work in a small group either way. Take a stack of books and let's spend some time looking at them. And it doesn't have to be the whole stack, but how would you sort those? What categories would you put them in? What do you notice? There's no right and no wrong here, but just start looking at them.
Yeah.
And, well, like in categories, and pull them up from the other category if you want. I mean, the stacks I just threw together, so. Just don't try to do all of them on your table, because you'll never.
There was about animals.
I was thinking the same thing. Animals and not animals.
Well, that's the first, that's the first one. So like this is this guy, this is celestial.
And it's fine to look in and spend some time looking at them. We'll spend a good bit of time with these.
Mummies are, I'm not sure what to do with them. Birds. Water. Water. But if you had animal teeth, yeah, trees, not animals, right? Yeah.
It's not animal.
And this is even animal, but it's not an author, but it's about biography.
Oh, animal.
It's not about animals.
Yeah, I love that. Well, humans are animals.
But yeah, let's think.
Okay, so we got human animals,
Oh.
non-human animals.
Evolution, I guess.
Well, that's not, that's not a human though, mummy's not a human. Okay, animal, bionics.
He's kind of its own world. Yeah, and then so is this one.
Says, well, I don't know.
Category.
It's just go in that pile with the mummies.
Yeah, I don't have the whole book, because that was just a teaser art. What do you got? Tell me your categories.
I don't know.
Animals, non-animals,
All right.
human animals.
Biography.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Like, all of them, you guys are such overthinkers.
I think
There you go.
I want you to now mix them up and
Oh, I lost
leave your categories that you haven't even discussed yet. Okay. Now you may need to spend some time looking at them. Stuff.
Where was that one about? Thank you. Where's that one?
You're gonna do all of the dots.
Where was
I can tell that.
Yeah.
that?
Okay. I don't know if that's mainly blue or not, that's kind of iffy, that's not.
Guys over there.
Okay, now we gotta go to.
Wacky, give me animals. There's an animal.
I guess this-
Should we just do cool colors versus warm colors?
Walker winter read. That sounds really good.
But then you got your yellow and your brown and this green.
Yeah. Oh, kind of.
Interesting.
Baby blue.
How rude.
No.
This is, so we had science.
Ah.
Biographical.
What's that?
What is it? Did we call it there?
Yeah, this is science.
Not blue.
Stuff.
All right.
Uh, Rocks and nature.
Okay.
Nature. We
What's
had
this one?
That one is like, heavy, deep stuff. It's like,
Yeah.
More specifically, it's poetry.
yeah,
Mhm.
Yeah.
but
Okay.
also kind of other world.
That's animal.
Other world.
Okay.
Living.
Bugs.
All right.
Living things.
All right.
bugs.
You all pick versus this pile or that pile. Pick one pile or the other. And do it again within that pile. Does that make sense? So come up with categories within one or the other.
I like that.
Whichever one you're more
Can I
interested
give it
in.
this one? Yeah, this one looks good. No, that's fine.
Which one was it?
Not blue.
Okay. You are my third graders. Awesome. That is excellent. You don't make you do it again. I'm working on it.
We're working on it.
A lot of,
Nasty stuff, right?
But it's amazing how many covers have blue in them. Why is that?
Right?
That's why I gross.
Isn't that hilarious? I like it.
Oh,
like it. It's like animal. I like these categories.
I got evolution in the book.
I will tell you that they did blue on the cover, not blue on the cover.
Yeah. Okay, we're working on it.
No, you're fine. I'm just saying, I think you can do either that.
Good for you.
We got this one is gross.
Oh, there's something.
She's eating curious, sick, and.
Says gross on roast.
That's gross right on the cover. Can't judge a book by its cover.
Okay,
First things.
okay, I don't, so the universe.
You don't have to open all the.
I think that's funny. That might help us. Instead of just going by the title.
This is not, right? Yeah. Do we count his birds in the background? Yeah.
The deal with, somebody deal with all stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
But you're right. Right about that.
Microfarad, micro. Observations.
It's like you're-
Yeah, that one is too. This one is.
It's about the body.
Yeah, this is funny.
Cells are like tiny watery clay and it's.
I did say flying, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, this has people going to the moon.
Oh.
That's people, here's a chicken. Okay. People flying.
People are technically flying. They're in something that's flying.
Look at this one here.
Did you write about the tardigrades?
it feels
Not
like
yet.
you're kind of at-
Not yet.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
No.
So seriously, somebody did.
Oh, they're amazing, and I'm trying to put one in my.
What is it?
My next
But
project.
yeah, let's do
But
that.
isn't it kind of, because
They're really
colorful, right? Yeah.
Bear, water bears, because they look like that little water bear. They're so cute. They're just chubby. They're amazing creatures.
Microscopic.
Yeah. They can stand everything.
So we decided not.
I think we're not gonna count that as
Flying.
flying animal.
Fly.
Flying animals.
All right. All right.
This could be the human body, this is biographical. I think, because.
Yes, biography. No, you're fine. So my question for y'all is,
Yeah.
what did you discover in this process? Is there anything you feel like you discovered about these books?
About the books themselves.
Maybe all of the above. This is very open-ended.
There's threads to them.
That there's threads. Okay, interesting.
That there are a lot of blue covers.
You guys are vegan, right?
Yeah.
Favorite cover.
Yeah, and most of these books are either from my personal library or that I've checked out from the library. So maybe I like blue or something. Maybe I'm attracted to blue. What about y'all? Any discoveries?
Well, I found they use very creative ways of expressing scientific ideas or biographical ideas.
Okay.
Yeah, because like this is very creative in terms of the explanation of the body. Yeah,
Extremely.
yeah.
I mean, it's
It's an awesome book.
It is an
Yeah.
awesome book. I mean, it's beautiful.
It's just like, no.
I think, I mean, so kind of going on what they said as far as the cover as well, we immediately, I mean, I did anyways, they kind of followed along. You know, like we said, okay, let's call this the gross pile because it's, this is gross in the title, this one says sick, and this one says flesh-eating bacteria. So let's just get that gross stuff. But we were judging it totally by the cover.
Yeah, we are.
So like cover, that's what I'm thinking, cover, because this is so incredible,
Yeah,
beautiful.
this lady led the way in calling it spruce.
I did.
She had a reason.
Yes.
I married a friend that wrote a song about getting old. He says, I'm starting to look gross. And it's hilarious. It's a hilarious song. But anyways, so yeah, I said it's fun.
Okay. This was really fun to watch too, to see what happened. You are like, no, you're like everybody else. You start with cover. First thing you did was subject, right? I mean, this is normal. Guess what? We are trained that nonfiction is classified by subject. Why? Why? Right, exactly.
Yes.
Why in the world, like what, how is that good for a reader? Like, it can be good for a reader if they're reading the insect book because they love insects, but maybe they love it because it's funny. You know, like we have this, we got to break out of these boxes, right? So, you could label these like an educator would label. Again, educators, they're taught informational text structures, and these are the text structures, and students, let's analyze which are these. You can label them that way. Okay, you could label them like a publisher. All right, publishers in Kidlit, we have these categories, these age, we call them formats. Picture book, chapter book, which is not what a kid calls a chapter book, but it's a special thing in publishing, middle grade, and then young adult. Okay. And then within that, you're gonna have, within each of those, you're gonna have some nonfiction. So you may have some subject areas in nonfiction, right? But you're gonna have fiction. And in fiction, you're gonna have, you know, your genres, right? But even within those genres, you know, okay, a cozy mystery versus a police procedural are both crimes, but think about how different those books are. But they're for very different audiences. So this is the kind of thing a publisher thinks about because they are going to be marketing and they need to put it in a sub niche genre is where they need. So like, I'm not saying we should write to them, but we should know what they want or else our stuff will never get published. It's kind of like you got to know what the end product looks like. You got to, okay, if you're going to build a gadget, you know, you got to know what the gadget's job is before you start designing it, right? So if we want if our final product is to convey mental, emotional, you know, to a reader for them to self-help, we've got to start there, kind of. And so I think understanding these categories is crucial for the publisher and for us to get it marketed, but also so that we know what we're writing. I mean, I can't tell you how many times I've started a project and had no idea where I was going and it never went anywhere because I didn't know, I didn't have a goal. I didn't have a, you know, what, and for me, the best way to do that is find an individual kid I know in my mind, an individual reader, and that's who I'm writing to. Now I keep other people in mind, but my book, Something Rotten, which is here, this is written for Cody, sixth grader who came back from the library, said, Miss Heather, there's no books for me. And he's right. He loved animal books. He was a sixth grader. He hung out with the eighth graders. The only animal books were little kitty books. He was not gonna be holding those books. All the he didn't want big stuff. He didn't want any of those girly books that are all about the emotions. It's just what he was. There was not a book. All the nonfiction was on war or sports. There's not a science book for a middle school kid. But anyway, so I wrote it for him. Like, I know the kid that's for. Not that it's not for other kids too, but
This isn't a beauty of that message. I mean, that's like when I'm songwriting, I write a song and it's specifically for either one character or for myself. And they'll say, oh my God, you wrote my story. You know, so that's.
it's universal but specific. It's this crazy line, whether it's fiction or nonfiction, it's got to have a universal message, but it's got to do it in the specifics.
But also you could take a topic, like you mentioned, the bus boycott. And I immediately thought of a young adult book that I read about, her name was Claudette
Colvin.
Over, yeah.
And I learned more about what happened through that book than I would ever learn from any other source.
Which really.
And it was written for young adults.
Yeah.
And for people like,
I'm sorry.
who like to read history.
The kids' books really have to do it all and leave out the boring. I mean, they really have to because kids won't tolerate it. So what's really great is if I'm going to start a new subject area that I'm researching, I go to the picture books first. I read them all. Number one, it gives me a base of information. Number two, they are all written with a different approach, a different angle. And I love to read different books on the same topic like that because then I start comparing and analyzing what worked, what didn't work. And it's so much easier when it's in picture book form because it's condensed.
And it's visual.
And it's visual. And what I really like to do is if a subject, even say book sometimes, is written for picture book, middle grade, adult, I read them all and see what stories left out, what pieces were emphasized, And it's really great. There's one called The Boy Who Harnessed the Wind. And it's done that way. It's the same story, same people wrote it. And then, it's also in a movie. But anyway,
Isn't that on?
It's a
Netflix?
movie, yeah.
Oh, okay.
yeah. So, but like, it's powerful to see that and really, it really helps you think critically and strategically about why did they make those choices? Or something like Honeybees, where there's 1,000 books on it, the same subject, and looking at all the different ways they did it. An editor, she said these are her publishing categories. A narrative is a story with an arc. Expository, she said, is based around defining or explaining a topic, one topic. It often contains lists or maybe broken into sections, explaining parts of a whole. It's less explicit, it has a less explicit story arc. A browsable is a category she used. She said that's a combination of narrative and expository. We'll be coming back to these. Active is based on activities. Prescriptive is something that's instructional or motivational, she said, or an opportunity book. It's a timely book based on something that's happening or someone's platform. The publishers love these because they're like seeing the dollar signs. So Susan, she was my editor for Something Rotten and the Poop Book. Interestingly, you guys almost all started with subject when you categorize. Not a problem. That's how we are taught to do it. That's what we do in nonfiction. But let me just throw out a few other topics or ways that these could be sorted. So narrative and expository is a big one, which honestly I didn't really understand. So these books here are all narrative books. There's all a storyline with a beginning, a middle, and an end. There's often a main character, and we follow that main character through trials and tribulations until they grow. These books are all expository. They're straight information. All right, they're factual information. These are all factual too. They're all nonfiction. These two books use some of both. One of them is a narrative structure, but with expository chunks in it. I think that's this one. Yeah. Then this one is an expository structure with some narrative chunks. And we'll get into that a little bit more later. So did anybody organize them based on illustrations? Because that's a big thing, especially in kids' books. Not as much in adult books, but you know what? Kids' books have had, in nonfiction, in the last 10 years, have done this major explosion. And all of a sudden, there's all this weird stuff. Guess what? The adult population is going to be demanding that soon. I'm waiting for that same revolution to happen in nonfiction for adults. Because guess what? Those kids are growing up. And people nowadays learn differently. And so just watch. I mean, I think that's the place to be in adult books. I mean, you know, like graphic novels, nonfiction graphic novels is huge. I'm writing, I was just asked by my agent if I could turn my next book into a graphic novel. And yeah, I can. So am I? I'm not sure. But that's a huge thing. So there's a lot to learn in the fact that these kids are now growing up to be, if you write for adults, they're your audience. So you've got graphic novels, do you use photograph? Do you use illustration? You know what, if they do use both, it's twice as expensive, usually, you know. This book, Sick, has what we call a hybrid. So it's got graphic panels in it, but it's also narrative. Sorry to talk about my book so much, but I just know them better than anything else. So they're like the art, but it's also got these panels, and kids eat these up. But adults love this because this runs directly into this. So it keeps the kid reading into a narrative form and gets them more used to narrative. So yeah, just a lot of different ways to do things. What else point of view? Did anybody organize by the first, third person point of view? It's a really interesting perspective to take. Like, which ones are first person? This book, written about the Earth, is from the Earth's point of view. It's fun. It's way fun. Now, some people would say that's not nonfiction because the Earth doesn't talk, but that's a different discussion. Yeah, so there's all kinds of different ways. Now, I'm going to share with you a new categorization system that Melissa Stewart and Marlene Correa, she's a professor. She's an author of over 100 nonfiction books for kids. Melissa took a sabbatical, and she and I had often had discussions at conferences, how there wasn't much language around nonfiction. You know, there's a lot around language around fiction, and some of that language works for both, but some doesn't. And we said, well, one thing, we don't understand the categories of publishing in nonfiction. So she took a year and she studied all the recently published books for kids in nonfiction. And she just did an amazing thing. And she developed this set of 5 kinds of nonfiction, which that editor had already read her book when she developed her system. But these are her categories, and we're going to talk a bit about each of them. So traditional books are the books I grew up with. They're a book that has all the information about a topic, just presents it, boom, expository. Browsable books, think World Guinness Book of World Records. You can open to any page and find something cool to read. Active books are books that encourage a kid to do something. They're a how-to book, they're a klutz book for kids. A narrative is like a biography, tells the story. And then the last one is expository literature, which I need to explain a little bit, but let me go through the rest of these first. So traditional, here's some examples of traditional books. My book on garter snakes, you know what? It's an all about book. It has a little bit of all the topics about a garter snake. It's got an overview of the topic. It's very straightforward, very clear. It's expository. It's info. Here's the info. A traditional book, a browsable book, sorry. Guinness Book of World Records, almanacs, short blocks of information, very eye-catching illustrations. The reader can skip around. Again, it's expository. Active books. This is Dog Science Unleashed. It's activities to do with your dog that teach you science. This one is Kid Chef Bakes. It's cookbooks for kids. It teaches a skill or an activity. It's clear, straightforward, kind of like a how-to guide. Narrative. This is what mostly editors are often looking for. Many people, that's what we grew up, you know, novels, etc. It tells a story. It has real characters. If it's nonfiction, it has real scenes. It has a strong voice, engaging language. It's often in chronological order. It's often about people or events. History, common topic. And then we get to the other one. And this is the category that's exploded. She had to make up a name for it because there really wasn't any name for it. So it's expository. In other words, it's just facts, but it's presented in a literary way. So they're often very narrowly focused. This one says Fry Bread, a Native American family story. This one is The Nest That Wren Built. And this is What's in Your Pocket. I already talked about that. See how it's like this information, it's about these scientists, but it's presented in some creative way. It usually has a strong voice, engaging language, innovative format. It's very close, very carefully chosen text structure. And in kids' book, it's often about STEM topics. So that's an area that editors are really looking for in kids' literature. But we don't have much of that in adult literature yet. I think that's coming. So, challenge to you. That last group of books, see if you can figure out which of those categories the books fit into. Or maybe they don't. Oh, first off, do you have any questions? Because I know I kind of ran through that fast. Okay. We'll talk about it as we go. Because guess what? There's no right or wrong. This is just her way of presenting. And you might have to dig them together piles. Exactly. That's a given. So if you want, I can go back to some of the categories.
I was thinking.
So the format, I think, is because they don't tell a narrative, but they.
You want me to go back? Which one do you want? Sorry.
Oh, I just wanted that.
Oh, you
I
want
wanted
that
that.
one?
No, that screen, the other one with the 5.
All of them. There you go.
Yes, thanks.
Uh-huh.
One question.
I think
So interactive.
I think that's a plus part to the format.
It is kind of
You got, you
Oh,
just
she
look
said that
at-
was expository, so.
Facts, it's not browsable like.
I mean, is it narrative?
You read it straight through, right?
Yeah.
So it's not browsable.
Like it invites you to do something?
It's been a while since I've read it.
Additional.
Huh?
All right,
What do you think?
What's the
Jim, I'll let Jim look at it.
But it's giving you activities, right?
It asks questions.
Relax in the shallow.
Like,
these are, so, yeah, this is where it's hard. Let's look at back here. Yeah.
I think that's accurate. Yeah, I would.
Okay.
I thought it was more like, how long are you gonna do something in the real world?
But that's,
No, but I don't think it is either. So what's that leave you with?
it's not just like looking at the words on the.
Well,
No.
traditional is, so it takes a broad topic and it just kind of covers a little bit of all the information about it. So if you're not figuring out where it goes, I put it in spot. The question is it expository literature? If it's expository and not narrative,
It gives facts, I mean, truly,
it gives facts.
it is facts. I
Is
mean,
it presented in
it's
a
question.
artistic, creative way?
Absolutely.
I would put it expository literature. But you're right, it doesn't.
No, it's got a narrative in it too.
It's kind of flow.
It's a mixture.
See how that's an important part of expository. It's got some chosen structure leads you along somehow. That's what I'm trying to figure out. What do you think about these others? What about these others?
I like these two are browsers.
What is this one? Browsers? Oh, okay, and these are all.
Like you could open any page.
Yeah, for sure, good.
One.
Yeah, that's.
And there's coffee table books for adults are browsable, but that's about it, right?
Yeah, yeah.
I think we're gonna go more this way because guess what? Our brains, we're all such,
Yeah.
we like short
Yep.
little bits of.
We're good with that, good
Now,
job.
that one's browsable, but it's also a how-to.
Ah,
So it's also an active program, right?
It's two categories.
Yeah, because it teaches a skill or an activity. It's just
Right.
browsable, like, it's a how-to guide. It's how
You could read it at any
But
point.
what's the difference between?
So yeah, it's two categories. Good. You guys, hey, how you doing?
The next one.
Okay. Oh, yeah, we gotta finish up soon.
You wanna stay here? You wanna go with me and Alexa?
What do you, are you sure?
Okay.
Right? It's hard sometimes. So guess what?
It's browsable, I mean, it's also kind of traditional.
Is there anything that leads you from one page to the next?
Yeah, I mean, kind of how it's,
There is some sequence to it, right?
yeah.
So that would make me lean less to browsable and more to something else. Is it a narrative? Does it tell a story arc of a character or an event?
I would call it browsable, cause it's just
I would totally
one
call that
thing.
browsable.
one
Boom, yes. Yeah. I would call this expository literature, which is kind of the catch-all. This one, it's kind of the catch-all for all this stuff that's somehow differently presented. This one,
I'm deciding on this one.
me too.
Yeah.
This is an old, did you put the date on it?
I remember that as a kid.
It's an old book, it's another category.
Well, it's like,
Right?
but it's choose your own adventure.
It is a book, right? Here's something to learn. You gotta pay attention to the publishing date and the publishing company,
Ah.
because that's gonna tell you it's published
Today's
today.
classroom building, that's what we're in right now.
Yeah, right, I know, right? It's fun, I'm working on something she's gonna make you like. I don't know.
But this one,
That one,
because it has the panel, to me, it made it different from the
traditional, I agree, but I still think it's traditional, but it's uniquely presented.
And it's the same
It is.
throughout. Well, plus the history, you know.
That is the little technique that to rise it up above the standard traditional book. See how they added that little bit that made it different enough, that made it more interesting? It's reading books this way that makes you really notice the details that are gonna make your mixing something up. Right? The difference between an okay book and it's a good book, I'm gonna recommend it for, it's different. It's
gonna stand out.
gotta have it.
The librarians are gonna get
You're gonna,
excited.
yeah, I'm all out of town, but, of course, I want more stuff to talk to you about. What's unique? What is it, about that project that was a little bit different, right? Especially if your topic is been done before. Right? If your topic's out there, been done before, you really have to find that tweak. Okay, you could find a really unique angle. Here's more about narrative expository work at the time. But really making this choice a very conscious, a very conscious decision about this is important, especially at the beginning of your nonfiction project. Because you can take a subject that's usually done expository, if you could figure out a narrative arc to it, you'll attract a whole total different group of readers. And the opposite is true. And people don't recognize this enough. They don't really think about it. So within expository, there's a lot of structure, and I have a whole workshop on that. Because that's how you make expository ring. So it's not, is you put a substructure within it. And there's a lot there, but we're out of time. Oh, and there's a whole subject of is it really fiction or nonfiction? That's a whole different thing. Yeah, all that. Dewey. So I think there's a lot of things that make things somewhere on the continuum between fiction and nonfiction. That's just totally made up terms, fiction and nonfiction. But all these things can take your subject a little more fabricated, a little more factual.
Like Persepolis?
Yeah. So, and like people are gonna have different opinions about things. It's really fantastic to have a discussion about that. But anyway, some resources if you're interested. This is Melissa's website, the one who created that. And those are some good resources. These are some of my books that I use as good resources. If you're writing narrative, really highly recommend Writing for Story by John Frankel. Fascinating outlines. Annie Dillard, Writing Life.
Great one.
Fantastic for inspiration. And if you're interested in writing for kids, this one's really good. So I'm out of time. I need to turn it over. Would you do me a favor and pile up the books in a stack? And thank you. I'm sorry to rush you at the end, but yeah. Well, there you go. Last slide. What's it gonna be? Boring or breakthrough? It's up to you.
Thank you.
Thank y'all.
Sometimes it can be a little low.
It can be both,
It's super boring for some of the chapters.
but
Very intriguing, and I
Sounds
don't
like
remember
you-
the name, and I am terrible with names.
it sounds like you got it. You got it figured out.
Helps that she came to our college to give a speech.
Oh my goodness. Oh yes, I'm sorry, you're supposed to sign in here. Also, if you're interested in, I have a digital email, like a e-newsletter. It comes out a couple times a year, maybe 4 times. If you're interested in that, let me get some pins for y'all. You can sign up for that. History, where I do workshops and when there's new books and stuff.
I had a songwriting student of mine that was, he had retired pharmaceutical. He wanted to write songs, so he started writing all these dirges, and I was like, Sam, he was a naturalist. Sam, I said, you're gonna have to write something in a major key, 3/4 time,
Active.
And I said, I gave him quotations, and I said, write one for your new granddaughter. He wrote a song about sloth.
Oh, I love it.
But every song he wrote was nature facts.
But engaged in a, yeah,
He would do a whole thing with.
that's
His wife
fantastic.
was a puppeteer, and she'd, while he sang, she would do the little, with the animals. Yeah, it was very cool to see him grow. He's done like 3,
That's awesome.
he's done 3 CDs already.
Wow.
It was fun. Thank you for your time.
Yeah, thank you all. Sorry. I ran over.
I'm giving away, but so I don't want to make
Exactly. I'm gonna put all mine over here. Oh, you know what? I'll put them in put them in here.
I'm giving away, but for you.
Good.
Oh.
You have to listen to me first, and then you get picked. No way I can figure it all out at once.
No, you gotta just, yeah. They're not all gonna even fit. I've got boxes right here.
Yeah, when they find a couple of those in the hole. And then I opened up and I'm like, it's a graphic novel.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, right? It's your graphic novel. I know. You're like, and you were like,
They wanted me to read. Shoot, it's everywhere. Everybody loves it. Walking Dead, the graphic novel.
no. That's different. You know?
That's where I struck that line. Thanks, but no thanks. Watching the show was fortunate enough for me. The book was more graphic. Actually, why I switched majors.
It's not mine.
Read all the books I want.
Where's the wheel?
We didn't. Wheels help.
Well, we didn't get to that.
Yeah.
I like your, I am the author. Nice.
Saw that somebody else had it and I was like, oh yeah, especially when you go to like a library conference or something and they always want to know and they feel bad after you did that. You know.
So, if you want to come on,
Just look up button maker, just,
button maker.
yeah, just go and, I mean, you can get your own button maker, but I just ordered it. You can order like 150 for cheap, you know, but I only needed one of each. I should have ordered a couple, cause you know me. But yeah, so it's helpful. Yeah, there's all kinds of things.
Now with that,
I think I've got it. Thank you. I'm gonna stick it on the wagon. Might have to take 2 trips.
on my wagon. Yeah,
Adam Ford.
okay.
Yep.
I got my wagon at, Walmart, was it? Yeah, Walmart. Laura Hunter. Nice to meet you.
You see that thing about the Zoom?
Oh, good.
Turn on the Zoom at the beginning of your session.
You're supposed to have somebody down.
Oh, yeah. they'll probably
Do
come
you
in.
have a sign in?
We can walk, but it's too hot.
There'll be
Yeah.
You could probably do that one.
What? What?
I know that that's the other thing.
Yeah, you might as well.
And that y'all need to hear we do.
I forgot to do it. Then
You know where the Princess Theater is?
No, I don't, I'm not familiar.
It's up to Princess Theater.
I have to put it on the flash drive and.
I do well. There's- Also, I
No, we
do
just-
well.
So give them to me. Hey, Nick, there's that. So,
Yeah, you.
sorry, I'm sorry. No, I'm going with a huge amount of books.
Yeah.
It's because that's how we registered you.
I wouldn't go out and get one of you.
and
You're just.
everybody here? We all in? Hi. This is banned books and their other characters. Yay, I've been looking. This is Dr. Lori Fowler. She is here with us from, where are you from? Huntsville. You are from Huntsville. You were in Tuscaloosa for quite some time, weren't you? That's it. Okay, and now you do
I work for a,
service,
right, I
correct?
work for a book publishing company and show teachers how to use their English and social studies books.
I'm gonna sit down and shut up and I'm gonna wave at you when you have 5 minutes.
Okay. Right. All right, we are gonna get started, and you may have heard, and you were correct, you're getting books that have either been banned or challenged, or books that they just haven't found to ban or challenge yet. So I'll put those out so everybody has I'll give everybody a fair chance at getting what you want. But we're gonna talk a little bit about banned books and how it came to be really in the 2000s. I'll date myself by saying I graduated in the 80s, and a lot of books on these lists we read in high school in the 80s. And nobody protested as far as I know. All right. So take a look at this. If you need to get up to read it, do that. But I want you just to look at this list. These have either been banned or challenged. Oh, yeah. So,
Do we get a prize if we read all of them?
I have a prize.
No, I can't. Unless it's a banned book.
Up there.
Yeah. 18.
Okay.
Are you?
Signed copy.
Print, really?
Oh, wow. Oh, wow.
I should have been.
I got all excited this morning. There's a paper. Okay, well, I promise there's a prize.
I'm kidding.
Well, I did make some up. Some of these are currently challenged or banned. Some of them were, and some of them are no longer. So, right. I read Handmaid's Tale when it first came out. I've not watched the show, and I can't read it again because it scared me to death in the 90s. So I was just like, nope. Huckleberry Finn, read that. I have not read James yet, though, and I'm excited to put that together. Gender Queer, which is banned. Bluest Eye by Toni Morrison, also banned. Scarlet Letter, apparently wasn't banned because I had to read it in high school, but now there are some people that are not reading it. The Court of Mist and Fury. I asked a friend of mine who is a middle school librarian, and she said, I love them and I read them, but her 8th grade daughter is not allowed to read them. So it's just they're too old and have more information that she wants her 13-year-old to know. But she's the mama of that one kid, right? I have a thing with somebody who sometimes they haven't read the book at all, and sometimes one thing offends them and they want it taken away from all the kids or from the public library. This both made me happy and sad when I prepared for this. But, Magic Treehouse book about the Romans. Magic Treehouse book. Really? But I used to teach Latin, and it's about the picture on the front is about the Colosseum. And if you've seen Gladiator, they don't wear a whole lot, and that's what's on the front of the book. So, but it's Magic Treehouse book. Hello. Are you there, God? It's me, Margaret. Where the Sidewalk Ends. I didn't read. I couldn't find the answer to why that one is banned. Okay, well that's probably why. Yeah.
Allegedly.
To Kill a Mockingbird. People I travel around the country for my work, and there are some parts of the country that don't read this in ninth grade, and I'm thinking, why? I mean, isn't that what we all did? So, Summer of No Rain, it was written by Laura Hunter, who is with us today. I was presenting in a Florida school district. It was all minority students, and I had just read Summer of No Rain, and I recommended it. And when they tried to order it, it was blocked. They were not allowed to order it. So, and the main character is a mixed race child, and it went with their history too. It would have made so much sense with what they were doing, but they were not allowed to even purchase it. Animal Farm. This one is banned for two reasons. Number one, the animals talk, which in some religious denominations, it's blasphemous if the animals talk. So, and then also somebody said that it was something about anti-government, and I'm like, because it's pro-communism? I mean, anyway. Fahrenheit 451, definitely. Again, as it's talking about censorship. Grapes of Wrath is also banned. Not before I had to read it in high school though. And then Lord of the Flies, I can't believe I read Hunger Games because I really hated Lord of the Flies, but Hunger Games is actually pretty similar. Speak, about the young lady who was sexually assaulted and then doesn't speak for over a year. And then The Book Thief, which so ironically, I had trouble reading that book for book club until somebody said at book club, well, you do know that the narrator is deaf. And I went, oh, now I see. But one of the things that you might see, there are who the author is. Like, are they socialists? Are they communists? Whether it is a female, if you look at how many female authors are up here, there are a few. There are also different people of color that are authors. But as I was preparing for this, I did see there were a lot of women of color that really looked like to me they were trying to erase their stories, to remove them from the school libraries, to remove them from public libraries. So, had everybody read at least one of these? Okay, awesome. So, I also learned there was a big difference in these three words when you're talking about books. So, what does it mean if a book is banned? Just tell me what you think.
Get it at the library.
That you what?
Cannot get it at the library.
Okay. And depending on where you are, it could mean you can't get it at the public library
Amazon.
or at the school library. Just depends on the community you live in. Okay.
There are some places where banned books mean you can't get it in that country.
True. I read some about that. And in those countries without First Amendment.
Mm-hmm.
What about challenged? What does challenged mean in terms of books? Yes, ma'am?
They're being debated over being banned.
Absolutely. And very good definition. Challenged means that a group of parents usually or community members bring to the Board of Education a book or list of books that they believe should not be in their school libraries. So, and then removed, I think this one might be the most sinister for me. This does not require a public meeting, a list that is vetted. A group within a school district can just say, we're taking these books off the shelf. And nobody ever knows, they just disappear. That's a little scary. So, because we don't hear about the ones that are removed unless a teacher or a parent or a student comes forward and tells us, I used to could read these and now in middle school, they're not available.
Don't they remove them and you have to ask, or like Madison County Huntsville Public Library now, they've moved to a different section. Like you have to have a parent's signature to check these books out. So they still have them, but they're just gatekeeping.
Right. And I live in Huntsville, and so I do go to the Madison County Public Library. And yeah, I live on the south side of Huntsville, and we have like one of the biggest libraries. No, in the glassed-in room with the puppet theater, there are certain books that I'm not sure should be there. That's just my own personal thing, but I'm not going to make sure other kids don't have it. I mean, if I want my kids to see it, I can. So, but the other thing that I have a personal problem with is if it's bad, if I think it's bad enough to ban it, then I should have at least read the book. Just saying. I mean, but that is often not what happens. Okay, and so let's think about why this is bad for students, schools, and libraries. So when I mentioned censorship, what does it do when we take these books off the shelf?
It changes the social narrative.
Oh, I'm stealing that line right there. Changes the social narrative. Yes, because all of a sudden it's censorship seems okay because that's where we're going. And then what about empathy? If you only read books about people like you, would you develop the same sense of empathy as if you read books that were about different parts of the world or different people? Limited knowledge. There are a lot of people who want to protect kids as young as kindergartners and as high as college from something that they feel is morally corrupt. And I'm like, but who left you in charge? So, like, we need to know that. But are there any other reasons you can think of? For me, it's a story of the librarian in Prattville. The director of the public library was let go because she would not take books off the shelf because they had been through their legal process approved by said lawyers. And they had made sure that the books met the criteria. Now, this is for the public library, not for a school library. And they had been available to view and take home and read. You could fill out a form if you thought it was not appropriate. But the county, I think it was the county commission chair, fired her for that. And her case is now in court. So that doesn't probably help if she doesn't have a paycheck, but she just said that you can't do that. We have a process. And actually a process like that is what covers many schools across the country. Librarians are the most awesome people. They look for books that know that they will appeal to kids of all in their school. Yes, ma'am.
This might have already sort of been said, but like if a book has been banned, then someone who didn't know why or whatever might think it was because it was like bad. So then they might like, I don't know, develop weird like opinions, or not opinions, but like, I don't know how to say that, but like.
But yeah, I mean, they could develop opinions just because they heard a book was banned.
Yeah.
And they probably, a lot of people have not read them that choose to ban them. So yes, that's a really good point. Go ahead.
Just thinking if we were gonna ban books people hadn't read, the Bible be out.
That used to be before the turn of the 21st century. That was one of the number one banned books was the Bible.
Yeah, that's the end of my opinion on that.
Okay. Again, if you don't want your child to read it, or if because your child is a different religious background, you certainly can do that.
That's how I read all my books. Like Water for Chocolate, Huck Finn. My mom got the books first, or she thought. Technically, she got the books 3 days after my teacher had given them to me because that's a lot to me to read. My mom would be like, "You're not reading this. You're not reading this."
That's
I already read it. Huge fan.
Exactly.
That librarian in Prattville was fired because they were going to withhold funding from the library because of her disobedience. She lost her job because the federal government was going to withhold funding.
Federal funds.
So that's the big problem.
Well, I mean, and I've taught for 32 years, and I have a personal library that I'm about to give away here in a minute. But I can't imagine being told I had to go through and check every single book because I bought it because I was interested or because I knew a kid that needed that book. I mean, that's my personal. All right, and then here is a bunch of reasons for the books are being banned. So race, actually, in my research found that this was the number one reason books were being banned was for the characters are brown or black people. I really thought it would be the second one. I thought it would be LGBTQIA. Use of illicit substances. I want to say, did y'all read The Outsiders? And at the time, yes. Oh, you did? Awesome. And they smoked cigarettes and drank beer, right?
Yes, but that's just their characters.
Right, that's true.
Even Dally,
See, a kid understands that. Excuse me, a young man understands.
whatever you want to call me. I mean, even Dally said to the boys, "Don't." Sorry for the spoiler. Don't be picking on my bad habits.
All right. Sexual abuse. I have a real hard time with taking out books like The Bluest Eye or The Color Purple, or Speak, because we don't talk about it as a society. So where are kids going to have a place to learn about that? That's a safe, risk-free place. And if our parents were talking to the kids about it, we wouldn't have this much problem, but nobody's talking to the kids about it. Or at least some of the kids I have been around.
They're also just silencing women.
Yes.
Correct.
They can't read that other people have gone through and survived, so they don't know that they can go through and survive, and it shuts up everybody all the way through.
Right. And then sexually explicit texts. I have a personal story about this one that's not terribly embarrassing. In the 80s again, Flowers in the Attic, if you're old enough, you might remember those. It was about a family that was broken, and it was about incest. We all read it like madly. Like my mom got it and read it, and then she gave it to me, and I read it. My sister took it to her 6th grade English class, and the teacher took it up. And my mom was the principal in the district at that time, and she had to go get it. And she's like, I just didn't know if you knew that Lindy was reading this. My mom, ever the smart aleck, says, well, she had to wait. I read it first, and then Lori read it, and it was her turn. But my mom said she won't bring it back to class. But the teacher was just flabbergasted that mom was still going to let her read it. And I want to say sometimes to parents or adults that are worried, I'm like, you don't know what's on their phones. Because there's some stuff that's way worse than any of this on their phones. That's just my opinion personally. Offensive language, depending on where you go, offensive language could be different.
Who decides what's offensive?
Right. Whoever is in charge usually. But
No, our president used some vocabulary this last week that would classify for a number of people as offensive.
And in school, it would have been a class 3 offense to say that word to the teachers.
Is he being punished?
Of course not. All right. Conflicts with religious beliefs. Now, this is one that I think more parents, that this is the reason they don't want their student to read a book. Whatever the theme is, I'm pretty sure I can find an alternate book for them. Yes,
I
ma'am.
will never forget, my aunt loved the Twilight series, loved it. Will not allow her children, they're all adults now, would not allow her children to read Harry Potter because it had to do with witches and wizards, and the Bible's against that. They've all since become huge Harry Potter fans. It's fiction, but like to me as a 13-something, I'm like, wait, you can read about zombies and vampires, but God forbid witches and children that are learning how to put classes together. You're like,
Right. Their spells are
right,
fixed to break the
right?
glasses.
Like, and make a snake.
Well, the basilisk was pretty scary.
Not the big snake, the little
The
one
little
with,
one.
yeah.
But there are, and the parents who, or the guardians who want to have their child not read that sort of book, they're almost always, in my experience, they have not had a problem with having their child read another book that is on the same theme. I have.
Oftentimes, excuse me,
Go ahead.
Dr. Fowler, oftentimes you'll have an individual parent who says, I remember this specifically. I was teaching the story of Odysseus, and a parent complained that I was teaching a pagan religion. So I gave the child an alternate book assignment to read, and he was, well, it was a she, was humiliated by having to be different from the other kids in his class.
Because middle school and high school kids will do anything to not be different from everybody else. So, and then violence, again, have you been on Netflix lately? I'm just saying, there's a lot out there, and there are some parents that do, monitor that, but not everybody does. And again, you can watch all kinds of crazy stuff on your phone. Okay, so we've talked about the books. What kinds of characters are left out of other people reading about them if these books are taken away from students?
Once on the fridge, who survived some of the worst.
Exactly. They don't make a big deal of it. There are a lot of Holocaust books that have been removed.
Under the Stars.
Mm-hmm. But a lot of them, but they have been removed. There was no discussion about it. They were just taken out of circulation. Yes.
Right on Athens State for a minute, we have the largest Jewish collection at the Carriage Library in the state.
That's awesome.
Check it out, it's on the far wall.
But yes, but we have, if you don't have that, you don't know about those people, you don't know about that time in history. I was on a JAG there reading about kids with disabilities, because I am in more and more schools where the teachers tell me, oh, they can't do that, they're learning disabled. Well, if they still have to take English, we have to figure out a way to teach English to them. However, we have to, accommodate. I did have a teacher once in a state, not in Alabama, say, well, we just don't do that here. I'm like, oh, federal lawsuit. Hope one of your parents doesn't know that. I mean, we just don't do that here. And I thought, I didn't know that was a choice, but apparently. Right? So kids with disabilities, both ones you can see and ones you cannot, are often put, and again, it's those people that are on the fringe. A lot of students who have disabilities, their parents are doing all they can to deal with the disability at home. Trying to deal with it at school and with other things is sometimes beyond those parents. If you've ever been to an IEP meeting, you see that, because they don't know what to ask for. I mean, they have somebody who is a 12th grader, but he's 19, he gets services till he's 21, but they want him to be able to live in an apartment and have a job. And it's, unfortunately, the IEP committees, whatever. It's not our choice, but we have to get those parents back to reality on what their student can reasonably do. I was in one where the mama said, oh no, he'll have to go in a group home. And she absolutely understood what her student could do. But a lot of people do not. Another thing, I moved around a ton as a kid, and librarians were like my best buddy. I met them first in the schools, and they would find books for me because I read at a higher level. In 3rd grade, I might have read all the primers in the first week, and that teacher did not love me after that because I could answer all the questions. I'd already read it all. But she and my mom, who was a teacher, struck up a deal, and I just read Nancy Drew books and did not interrupt the rest of the class. So that worked for us. But also, a lot of books, people will say that you're trying to groom kids to be a certain way. And the math teacher had the best answer. She said, I just want them to do their algebra homework. I'm not trying to make them into something they're not. I want them to be, doing their 8th grade math homework. So, and there's also been a great response to that as well that says, I read about Kermit the Frog. I read about just different things, but I didn't decide I was going to be a frog. I mean, just because I read a book about it, and then you wouldn't understand. And then somebody said, almost all of the great literature from British and American lit until a certain time period was all by white men. So did they understand everybody else they were writing about? I'm gonna guess no, but you know, we have that reverse discrimination. There is, a male romance writer, I don't even know what his real name is. He took the name Viola Shipman because his publisher said, women will not buy a romance book that's by a man.
J.K. Rowling.
Right,
Joanne Rowling.
right, exactly. But we want to be sure that kids can see kids like themselves, or just kids that are different from them. For whatever reason, everybody that has sales in Arkansas always wants me to go to Arkansas for them. And those people literally outside of the metro areas, they live in little tiny schools. So tiny they only go to school 4 days a week because it's cheaper not to run the buses 1 day a week. They do have to go to 4 o'clock, but they don't have much outside of their school. And if we don't show them what some of this looks like, my other thing is, if we don't encourage kids to read things they're interested in, they're gonna quit reading altogether. So, and there was I can't remember which congressman or senator, but somebody had a children's book that they had blown up to poster size because it needed to be banned. And you know what happened to that book? It shot up to #1 on Amazon. Yep. So, and if you tell kids, there's Stephen King has a quote that says, if you want kids who aren't reading to read, tell them that there's lots of good information in banned books. That's why they don't want you to read them. And he's right. They will go and look for that.
My oldest, both my kids were raised actually for school-wise on the West Coast. I was raised on the East Coast. My kids for the longest time, until probably about 9th, 10th grade, thought that the banned book list was our adults' way of telling children they're not allowed to read it to make them more interested in reading it. I grew up knowing the banned books mean I can't find it at the library. My kids were like, oh, it's on the banned list, it must be good.
We need to go find it and read it. Again, I just have noticed in reading about kids with disability, kids of mixed race, the book that Laura wrote is from the 60s. But even in 2025, there are a lot of people still writing juvenile and young adult books about mixed race children, and they're still struggling just like they were in 1968. So. I really didn't mean this to be a rainbow, but it turned out to be a rainbow. So here are some of the ones that we just talked about. So kids that are disabled, kids in wheelchairs or kids with cerebral palsy do not generally have mental disabilities. They can't, they're sort of in almost a locked-in syndrome. They cannot communicate without technology usually, but there's nothing wrong with their brain, and they can usually, if they are can hear and everything. And I read a really good book about a kid who wanted to go to summer camp. And she went to a camp that was for disabled kids, but her parents couldn't imagine her being away for a whole week. And it was an interesting, the kid learned stuff about herself, the parents learned stuff about her, and she realized there was a group of people that were like her in the world, and before that she did not know that. Right? Characters that are LGBTQA, didn't really get it saying that. There is one book that I really like. Now the name of it's going to escape me. It's by Richard Peck. His uncle is gay, and he starts dating one of the kids' teachers from school, and they end up getting married. Oh, I know what it's called, The Best Man, and they ask the kid to be their best man. And kids at school are giving him a hard time. Isn't this bad? And he said, well, no. I mean, and it's amazing to me, remember we teach kids to hate or dislike things. If you ever look at a preschool class, they don't hate anything yet. They may tell you they don't like Batman or whatever, but okay. Characters that are black or brown. This also breaks my heart because we're approaching a plurality where there will not be one majority in the United States. And everybody deserves to see themselves in books. One of my favorite picture books is Hair, about a little African-American girl with hair. And I believe her mom has died and dad is in charge of her hair and the hair is just out of control. But dad asked for help and then he knows how to fix her hair. Okay, characters that are immigrants. Immigrants are really taking some hard blows right now. When strawberries are $10 a carton at the end of the summer, we might want to rethink that. But
If they're even on the shelf.
if they're in there, you're right. But because people, when I travel around, I don't think people realize, yes, I know that people are coming across the southern border of the US illegally. But I fly into Atlanta and Detroit and New York and Chicago. There are way more people coming into the country illegally that way. They just had more money in order to buy the papers that they needed.
Or they lie to their college and tell them they've got a green card, and then we find out when they're best friends with the president, they never had a green card. They
Exactly,
lied the time.
exactly. And then the last one, characters that are poor. Because in the US now, this is a personal belief. It's almost like it's your fault that you're poor. And I just want to say, if we have people that are going to feed kids in the summer, why would you not want them to feed kids in the summer that depend on food during the school year? And there's one of my favorite memes is, it's okay for you to have yours and somebody to have theirs. There's plenty. It's not pie. It's not just one piece for everybody, right? All right.
Going
you
back
ask-
to the-
Sure.
Sorry to talk about the middle school kids. I remember my experience and I went to school for a couple of years and at that age, every kid thinks they're unique. They're the only one that's ever experienced that. They're the only one who's having to deal with parents like that. They're the only ones who all the kids in school hate me. They're the only. So if you, no matter what kind of book you take off the shelf, there's somebody out there that needed that, to see that experience. I mean, there's no experience you can put in a book.
Right.
That at 13 years old.
You don't even know what you need to read to feel better.
Yeah.
So, well, bless you for teaching middle school.
That was a long time ago and didn't stay at it very long.
I understand. You have to love middle school kids to teach middle school for very long. And they're not always easy to love.
I remember my own.
I was in middle school for a bit.
Okay.
I guess in high school now, so I know that.
Okay.
I don't think it takes a lot of study to realize that babies are not born hating. And therefore, if they're not born hating, they have to learn it just as they have to learn to tie their shoes and to put on their clothes in the morning, brush their teeth. And so you get back to the book issue. Where are we teaching children to hate each other or to fear each other? Because fear can get to be so massive, countries begin killing each other.
Right. Exactly. Because yes, go ahead.
Sorry, were you about to say something? Well,
No, you go ahead.
okay, well, there actually is like a family in where we live, Athens, Alabama, and one of them is like, I'm pretty sure she wrote the book, or at least someone wrote it about her. It's called The Ground Kisser. My dad told me about it. It's like so it's just like a girl and her sibling, I can't remember if it's a boy or girl, who had to leave her country because it was plagued by war, but the family was only able to take 2 siblings, so they only took 2, like hoping and praying that they'd survive, like they could, like it was like I don't know, 2080, and they had to be on a boat that was I said 2080, and like that's the odds it could survive.
Oh, I thought you were saying the year 2080. Sorry. Sorry. Go
They
ahead.
got his odds. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not 2080.
Yeah.
Anyway, they had to survive pirates, storms, looting, and they finally got there. And like that, they're also immigrants. So yeah.
And she was able to get her family back, like 10 years later, one of our local churches at the First Presbyterian helped to get the rest of the family over here. And it's a great read. It's called The Ground Kisser.
I don't.
I'm gonna write that down. Because that's also a really good thing is that, lots of people tell me when I'm on the road about books that they've read. Nothing wrong with Caldecott and Newbery Award winners, but a lot of that, as my niece and nephew would say, that's so 20th century. Like, you're gonna need to quit saying that to me. So, but I think it's important that we pull in some of the new books that are available about things that these kids care about. Because if we don't, no wonder they're not reading. Okay. But we do need to make kids understand that these stories have been here all the time. In the 70s, it was Vietnamese people coming from Vietnam, and they could only bring like one parent and maybe a few kids, couldn't bring the whole family. And I can't imagine being the kid or the parent having to make that choice. So that would be really hard. Okay. Is there a banned or challenged book that you would want to teach in your classroom and why? There should be a question mark.
Like water for chocolate.
Okay.
The relationship people have with food is more intimate than we give it credit for. And I know that the ending of the book was weird. But as an 8th grader who was reading it, like, that's weird. Why would you do that? That's just a weird way to do that. But like the majority of what stuck with me was when I am baking, when I am cooking, when I am in a mood that I really should be in the kitchen to begin with, no wonder my food tastes sour. No wonder people are like, oh, this is a little off today, Autumn. But when I'm happy and excited to share with others, that's when I can knock out some of the best recipes I've ever made. And I think it's she made me look at the world differently than I had before. And that's what I liked about that book.
Absolutely. And just because there's one scene in one chapter that
At the very
offended
end,
somebody,
that really could have just fallen off.
I mean, yeah, you can't have that. So, yes.
Outsiders easy. It's just got a reason. There's a few reasons, but one, it's a very good book, and two, like the characters are like really interesting. They're just like they're not exactly all good, but they're not all bad. Like Dally, for example, like sure,
Really gray. They're more
yeah,
gray.
he was like sketchy and didn't mind hurting people, but he also had a soft spot for like at one point I thought their gang name was the Outsiders, or their name was gonna be the Outsiders, but now but yeah, he actually cared about Johnny, and he actually was a good person. It's just he was not the best person. Like, it's a book where it actually gives you more dynamic characters than other people, like, because banned books might give you.
Exactly. And, teenagers can be good and bad. That's just the way life is sometimes. And so can adults. Sometimes we make good decisions. Sometimes we make bad decisions.
Your last slide asked if we could think of any more, and you just reminded me. Teenagers being teenagers. Basically, if they're acting like normal teens all the way through, parents don't want their kids to grow up. They don't want their kids to read about kids growing up either, a lot of the time. And then any female character that does not need a man those kinds of books tend to get banned quick. Not because he did not existent, not because he didn't have a role to play, but because she didn't rely on him so heavily as other characters. Those tend to get banned more often than not, I think, too.
So that's one of the things I hope that in our discussion you have realized, whether those people who want to remove, ban, or censor books, whether they realize it or not, they are targeting very specific populations. So, and one of the groups, Texas has a book list with 738 books that are banned in the state of Texas. South Carolina, Tennessee, and Utah, I'm not sure how many they have, but in those states, the legislature Florida too, yes. But in those 3 states, I know the legislature has made a law that if one school system in Tennessee bans it, it has to be banned everywhere.
There's a man in Florida, one man that challenged like 950 books in the district. I know. Question, they banned or challenged book to teach. The absolutely true story of a part-time Indian is amazing. It's an immigrant story, but it's also a graphic novel. So it like really gets kids in, and there's the dialogue, but then there's a whole other story going on in the pictures.
And graphic novels can do that. I'm having to re-educate a lot of English teachers about it's, first of all, comic book has more than 700 more advanced words than regular books from that grade level, that age level. And I said, are they counting like BAM and POW? No, they're counting real words, right? And why would we not want kids? I want kids to read. And if they like to read that, good. If they like to read Twilight, that's not my thing, but I want them to read. If I love Harry Potter, but they don't, also okay. All right, Laura, you want to tell us one that you taught that was banned or challenged?
That has now been banned. The Scarlet Letter, Their Eyes Were Watching God. What are some others? To Kill a Mockingbird. I taught that a number of years. And interestingly enough, the children responded in To Kill a Mockingbird. They responded to the compassion that that book brought to the character Tom, who was disabled, who was accused of the rape. They could understand that because oftentimes children, especially younger children, can be accused of something they're not guilty of, yet they can't get out of it. And that helped them to understand that they don't have to resort to running as Tom did and get shot down. And what the result of that was for his family. I think that we, as a society, have begun to, and I hope I'm not, limit what we can teach children in terms of being compassionate toward each other, in terms of, I can remember my cousin and me getting in fights, on the school playground, and we can find a book that deals with that. And the teacher could have found a book and given it to us and let us see that that's not the way to resolve issues.
There have been a lot of books in the last 10 or 15 years about bullying, which before, unfortunately, in some schools, it was totally ignored.
Right.
But now there are books both for girls and boys and all different, races and everything. But because, like you said, every kid thinks that they are unique, and that's never happened to anybody else before. But that's not true. So, more importantly, I know you want your book. So, this is a Padlet page, which is just a page with my information on it, and somewhere the places I got some of the research for this, including some of the banned book lists. I do have a Florida and a Texas one. You're going to need a whole afternoon to look at that. It's like 700 books each. But you just take a picture of that with your phone, and it will come up. It does have my did it not work?
No, it says this is a candid code as a preview. This is not the final version of your code. To generate your own code, you must complete essential steps on.
Hate it, can I? Okay, well, here I'm going to give you my email address. How about that?
That works.
So my email address is just Laurie, Laurie, Fowler, Fowler, @gmail.com. And if you will email me and say, I want your resources, I will send it to you. I mean, I was all happy that was working.
No, you're fine. I just figured.
And I didn't test it.
I don't know.
tell you guys, there is in Huntsville, there is a fundraiser Saturday night at Stone's House, a local group that challenges books. Moms of Liberty is having a fundraiser with Marjorie Taylor Greene and Dale Strong, and they're charging $1,000 table. So come out, make some noise.
They're having it,
Fine.
they're having it at Stone House, so you can show up to protest.
Yeah, hopefully large protest.
Oh, yeah, there's already police present.
Okay, we have plans Saturday night.
You know, it's interesting that you've used the word protest, you use the word protest. When I was growing up, we had no concept of protest. So I think it's very positive. I know my granddaughter is interested in attending protest. And it's very interesting that we have a younger generation, and I say that as being younger than I, who is willing to step out and take a stand, whereas in my era, we would never have been bold enough to do that. Would not have been allowed to do that because Mama would have kept you home rather than doing that.
I think it's because of you speaking up eventually anyway, that we were able to say anything at all to start with.
I take my 5 and 6 year olds. My daughters come on Saturday. I won't let them come Saturday just with there's a conflict. You know, they're little, but walk in the park, absolutely. Come on.
Okay, so this is the book, the box or the bag of the mostly hardcover books. And yes, there's a Harry Potter version 1, that's because it is banned, and I had to I had to clear out the whole thing. If you want to know about any of the books, they do have, these are juvenile fiction mostly, a few young adult fiction. You're a Judy Bloom lover. I actually got this from her at a conference. She'd only signed 2 books. And did I have 10 in November? This is about the same person that wrote Dumpling, if you've read or watched that.
I've seen that.
And then Leaving Lyman is another book from the guy that wrote Finding Langston. And if you like to get it or are interested, this is the graphic novel of it. And then I have some stickers, and then I also have real bookmarks for the books you're about to get that have blank books on the back, and then a library card to say, I challenge you to fill this up with banned books.
We've been talking about, you know, like the little book library.
Uh-huh.
I want to do a little bit of book, like Sunday.
There's an adult book about that. Little Dean's Little Library.
There you go.
Yeah. You said the book was on, you said whatever. It's a group that, sure, if it's gonna be a challenge.
Book, so they want to, that's stupid. When's the protest?
Saturday.
Yes.
Saturday?
Away from.
Sorry.
If you would have told us.
Actually, they often.
President.
I'm sorry.
You go.
Yeah.
I wouldn't until you need an elevator. I have some behavior specialist. So, real familiar with all the right.
Come on, you yell, sir, you're stupid. I have to say, I have my song for freedom, read,
Amen.
Some of the books are not officially banned, quote unquote, yet, but they focus on characters that are different from a lot of different
No,
characters.
you're fine. That is my goal every time I go to the library, to grab books that I think, hey, might get banned if.
I read American Dirt because it was banned.
I read.
Adults weren't supposed to read it.
When I was about 13, my
Yes, I saw that.
Baptist pastor son was about to die.
Exactly. What grade are
Gave
you?
me his copy of my.
Tell me sort of where you're.
Before I started,
This.
so you have to see. And she said, you don't want to.
Excellent. Well, you made lots of, good comments today. Please be sure you get a book. I don't want to take these home. We don't want to carry them back to the family.
Did you find one? To know what's happening in the so I went ahead and I wrote it, and she said, you'll never find anybody.
I can tell you, I think I'm hopeful.
But I had no problem at all getting a public. Last 3 people working on making it into a survey.
Well, and this
That's
is.
a question of finding somebody who really.
Please take that one too.
At times,
And
Yeah.
they did not know it.
they're not expecting an overnight dollar. Yeah.
And.
There you go.
Thank you.
Oh. And we have talked very sure, so you're letting us.
I have two of those. I bought one and I apparently stole
We've got.
one. But I paid them for it.
When street comes.
So which one do I want?
We still have to do a whole thing. Well, we're in the process of building up.
And to take it.
And we downloaded, they sent emails out periodically. But,
I have the giver. And
Thank you very
you
much.
know, one book that I want to see
I'm sorry. Thank
question. Oh, go ahead. One book that I would like to see question. The rainbow fish.
I've seen that.
Several people I know just absolutely love it. My daughter just loves it and got it for our grandson. And I said, I don't like that book. It's the story of a fish who gives away, nobody likes him. And so because he's more beautiful than the other fish, and he gives away all of his scales so that the other fish can have just a little bit of beauty. And he's been so plain that nobody likes it. And I see that as being trying to make everybody be just like everybody else.
Right. What's the sci-fi? Is it Bradbury? Where everybody has to be the same, and so if you can hear. They
It's
put
the, not the censors, it's, Harrison Bergeron.
Yeah, okay.
They have,
Yes.
like, if you're
Yes.
bad, if you're a good ballet dancer, they make you wear weights on your legs and
Yes,
stuff, so that everybody has the same skills, which basically means nobody has it. We read, that's in our book, that's in my textbook, and everybody's like, why are we reading this? I was like, challenge you. Have you read Monica the Walter?
No.
Okay. That's also a Netflix series, but it's really good as well.
Oh,
Go right.
Have you seen the hospital? There's like a show.
Yes.
Saturday.
Yeah.
They wanted,
Golf cart.
Yeah.
Golf cart.
Yes.
Yeah.
We're saying, hey, and it's a
Thank
huge,
you.
they are.
Thank you.
Same grief. I mean, they come, we went with them. And they came out of there with, I think as many as the library would let them have in one session. Just, they read them all and they go back.
I feel weird when I go to the library with my kids. We go every 2 weeks, so I've taken home like a dozen books because we're reading a different one every day. And I see people, they go like 2 or 3 books. I'm like,
Did you know you can check out?
there's right. I don't get it.
So Joel got in trouble. My middle son was married to her cousin. So at one point, they were little, I was working at a Christian school. And
And now he's.
yeah, so, the teacher, Joel was in like 3rd grade. And the principal on the inside. Now, I understand that at home, everybody, that's fine, you're the parent, your kids read whatever. We don't allow students here to do book reports on Harry Potter. And so Joel had taken his copy
In
of
third grade.
Harry Potter and took it to school and said, I want to read this and do a book report.
Sometimes you just raise those kids without meaning to, you know?
I had a friend once who, her children were going to a local rural school. And the children, all in different grades, brought home an assignment to give a list, bring back a list of all the magazines you have in your home. Bring a list of all the, what you watch on television. And I just, and the mother talked to me about it, and I said, I wouldn't do it. I wouldn't do it. That's nobody's business outside the home.
What you guys, oh, they're asking the kids what they read and watch at home.
Just on the magazines, parents, subscriptions to, like maybe Gun and what's the other.
Would want to list something?
They wanted a list. Yeah.
No, I'm not sure, no.
Oh, and someone mentioned, Books A Million.
Yes.
I think you will find that, Barnes and Noble more flexible with what they will take than Books A Million. And,
Second in Charles.
right, I took some second in Charles, and I felt like, oh, she because they give me that.
Oh.
Good.
Yeah. Oh, I shop there, so I was, I love to
I
shop.
bet you these are some that are penny a page. When they're a penny a page and they're they're 135 pages, they're $1.35. A lot of these.
Oh, is that where you go?
Well, it took me forever to find those. But, okay.
I like the bookmarks, cool.
And yeah, and that was my challenge was, see, you can fill this up with books that are banned, books in another, you know, your area or something else.
Let me just tell you that about the little band book. You know what I'm talking
It's
about?
called Lula Dean's Little Band Book. Lula Dean, you'll remember that.
Not Paula Dean.
Exactly.
What she does is she goes and gets, like 25-cent books from the library that are like physics textbooks that nobody wants. And nobody ever gets anything. She's all about it. She talks at the board meeting about stuff. And then some kids pull a little fast one, the book covers, leave the book covers from the physics book and put it back. And everybody in town is reading, and she's like, see, we're doing this. She like has the thing of Bible stories. I mean, she thinks that she's helping everybody be morally correct.
Oh, that's
The kids are like, oh, but we're gonna change. But yeah, Lula Dean's Little Free Library.
Yeah.
But I think I wish somebody would make that to a movie. And of course it takes place in the South. I mean, it's Lula Dean.
Yeah. That's your point.
Lori, did you find that, banned books are more prevalent? The experience of banning books is more prevalent in the South than any other part of the country.
Yeah, because we have Texas and Florida. I mean,
Yeah.
but Utah completely, I mean, they are mostly Mormon and the religious issues. But in South Carolina, they have a list of over 1,000 books. And parents and community members and teachers said, we can't just take a list that somebody who's never read these books wants off the shelves. So they worked for like a whole year in committees and read all the books. And some of them they still removed or banned. And some they're like, this is appropriate to teenagers. Just because you don't like it does not mean that, you know. But some places are trying to do it right. Some places are not. But yeah, it is in a lot of southern states.
And see, but also a lot of the lists that are being, handed around, the one that Alabama has, that the Alabama Library Association has, is from Texas. It's a version of the Texas. Florida's is so big that it's probably not a version of anybody's.
It's a book in and of itself.
Yeah, exactly. So it's like 4,500.
Yeah.
things, so. But at any rate, I'm glad everybody likes my playing, and I don't have that many books to take home. I have a lot of good ones to give to Caitlin.
Oh, good, good.
I gotta there's a closing session going on.
Oh, there's a closing session.
Well, kind of, we're
You
doing,
wanna
there's
find out?
another special session after this.
Oh, no, I'll.
I know.
Yes.
I'm gonna take another copy up there as we're watching God because Max on the wall.
That was good, the library version. That one looks really good.
I didn't even really read it, I just, it spoke to me.
It's sort of like she was talking about, it's like, how food is. Okay. I know family does.
Okay,
Okay.
let's have Laura get this stuff together.
Wait, hold on, let me have it.
Yeah.
That one's from
That one looks good.
those two.
Have you seen the movie? Are you there, got it?
Yes, and I cannot tell you how glad I was that she stayed on as a producer, and it's exactly like it was in the set. They did not update anything, those little girls don't have cell phones.
Yeah.
They're wearing
Yeah,
penny loafers without Band-Aids, and they come home from the first day of school and their feet are tore up. That was so me in sixth grade.
I was trying to get my daughter to watch you. She's 14. For that reason, but I was like, I'm here for it.
Well, and then there was I saw a thing on Facebook not long ago that said, dear Judy Blunt, all of us that love Margaret are now in menopause, and we would like you to write a book about that.
I can remember Judy Blunt being questioned. I can remember my mother questioning God's little acre, going to the principal about God's little acre because I brought it home and read it. The dirt poor people. I guess she didn't want me to know about the dirt poor people. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, Caitlin is